Namo Tassa. I want to talk about something that I see a lot around, especially with people who mean to be Buddhist or to understand the Dhamma. But that relates to the quote that I posted today from the Dhammapada, which is maybe not one of the most famous or one that sticks out really, but it is actually a very important one nowadays. And it is about when people mix up between what is essential with what is unessential. Ultimately, that's the way most people live their life in general. But actually, Buddhists as such should know better. It has been said different ways from the Buddha and others about what is really the priority in life if you want to be a good Buddhist or to be a good Dhamma person and to live a life of Dhamma. One main simple quote is to say that all the Buddhas, so even the ones before Gautama, Siddhartha, and all the Arahant would say, as keeping it simple again, that you should refrain from doing evil. So you should refrain from harming and refrain from having bad intentions. And then you should focus on, concentrate on, and strive to do good, to have good intentions. And at the end, the point is to just purify your mind. And as it is known, the only way to actually purify your mind is to practice properly, seriously, steadfastly the Dhamma and the meditation. And of course, so many people, and especially Buddhists, still make excuses for trying to get away from the real work. And that's where they get distracted or they go astray from the path. And that's where they get into the unessential and forget about the essential, which is, again, making the effort to practice seriously, regularly. And the other way that I've reminded a lot of people is to remember to refrain from the bad side of the mind, which is the defilement. So trying to get rid of and not support or create new kilesa about moha, lobha, dosa. And the second part, which is to focus on the good mind, becoming a good person, a good Buddhist, a good Dhamma person, is simply to focus as much as you can in your everyday life on the 4 Brahma Viharas, Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. And this is the essential. Keeping this kind of mindset and intentions, ideally all the time, in everyday life situation and practice, only practice. Now, my main point is, especially as a foreigner who knows about Dharma and that serious practice, when I deal a lot with people in Asia, people who mean to be Buddhist, or people who mean to know about Dhamma, and they like so much and too much, and they waste a lot of time focusing on the smaller details, the small things that are actually not so important. It's not the essential for having a life of Dhamma and to progress on the path. And the thing, unfortunately, we could say, is that over time, more and more people or influential people on the Dhamma path have come up with new rules. Again, people, most of the time, they speak like they think they know because they like to know so much the theory, and the ego is so proud to show off that they know so much about Dhamma and they know the theory. But again, how much do they practice besides it? Not much. But they spend a lot of time reading, reciting, repeating the Dhamma scriptures, the rules, or the Patana. But then they forget to spend more time actually simply meditating and practicing, which is what the Buddha wished actually, ultimately, as far as honoring him and his teachings and the Dhamma. Again, the one thing, when people mix up the essential and the unessential, is, again, some people are very proud of donating a lot of money to build this monastery or this pagoda or this thing or this statue of Buddha. And again, you don't get much positive after that. It's not that you will get a very good karma for that, because you forget the main thing that the Buddha asked actually. It's like you don't really respect the Buddha's words anyway, if we can say that these were the words of the Buddha originally, and again, to keep it more simple, which is exactly that. When the Buddha would say, if you really want to show respect to me and to honor me and honor my teachings and follow seriously the Dhamma, then the only main thing for you is to practice seriously, to meditate seriously, to practice Dhamma as much as possible, all the time, every day. And it's not about all the attitude and the manners that you have around, or some actions that you do, but actually that are there to puff up your ego and make your atta bigger, to show that you're a good Dhamma person, because you want to show it to other people, either by your behavior or by what you make or by your donations. And people completely mixed up with that. So they started to build a lot of temples and pagodas and monasteries and statues and whatever things they like to make to worship the Buddha. But again, worshipping is not the practice. Meditation, proper meditation, vipassana, is the way you show respect and understanding for what the Buddha said and wished for you to progress on the path. And then, of course, because it's easy that way and it stays at the superficial level of the intellect, people get attached to the small details. And then that's what I meant, that in my situation, I meet too many Asian Buddhist people who think they know and understand the Dhamma, and they start to tell me about the rules and what I should do in that situation and what I should do, and you shouldn't do this or this, you must behave like this in this situation, you must do that, you must sit there, not like this, you must... All this is superficial. It's not about true Dhamma. But people, because they don't practice seriously, and they still have the big atta, big ego, they attach a lot of importance to the superficial things. And then they like to control others. They like so much to tell others what they should do, how they should behave, and they like to comment or to judge or to criticize. And that is, again, a typical sign of the Southeast Asian cultures when they think they are Buddhist. But actually, that's why in those cultures, there is so much of drama in relationships between people, and why there is so much gossiping. At the same time as people learn not to speak directly, not to speak frankly the truth. So it has become a whole fake, false, superficial way to be and to relate to each other, exactly because, of course, after so many centuries, there is more and more misunderstanding, and more people have thought that they understand properly, and they have some charisma or many followers, and then they start to feel very important, and they think they can make their own rules. You have to understand that most of the rules that are made, and everybody say this is what the Buddha said, this is what the Buddha said. Of course, nothing has been written down at the time of the Buddha. Everything has been written down after, and many of those rules, and that also is the same for the Vinaya, the rules for the monks. You have 227 rules, and many people would just think, oh, the Buddha made 227 rules for the monks. I don't think so. This is, again, things that evolved over time, exactly because how the society evolved and the Sangha evolved, and because of something that happened, then some leaders started to think, oh, okay, we have to deal with that, so we have to maybe make a rule that adapts to this situation or this behavior. And then it became more and more complicated as usual, when again the pure Dhamma is very simple, and it's back to the basics, and it is about the practice of meditation, vipassana properly, and Dhamma, and keeping a good mind. But of course, most people, regular people, it's normal for Putujanas, to be controlled by the kilesa, moha and lobha and dosa. So they really like to keep the focus on those unessential details and rules, and they like to transfer them around, and they like to spend more time judging other people or criticizing other people, have an opinion on others, to be able to satisfy the drama addiction or the gossiping addiction, and to say, oh, look at this person, they don't do that, or this person doesn't do like this, or they should do like this, they should do. But they forget to take care of their own issues, their own kilesa first, and to practice properly and simply Dhamma. Of course, the main point with Dhamma is to reach anatta, So less ego means that you should really take care of your own personal issues first and practice like that. So in English, there is an expression that says you should sweep in front of your own door before making comments or judging or criticizing others. So yes, you should clean up first your own mind, your own defilements around yourself first, before you feel that you can make judgment or criticize or control and tell others what they should do, what is better for them. If you're not Arya, you actually don't understand enough the Dhamma. But many Putujanas think that they know so much about Dhamma and that they understand it so well. But then they like to spend time checking others and telling others what they should do, what's the right way or the wrong way. And they forget actually to practice themselves. Spend most of the time for your own practice to try to become a better Dhamma person, a better Buddhist. And that's how most people really mix up between the essential and the unessential. So you really should give up and forget to try to control others like that, and to have an opinion and judgment about others and what they do and the smaller details and the rules like this in general. Understand that in one way, as I said, it's down the line after many centuries, some influential abbots, sayadaws, have decided to create new rules like this, because also for some of them, they were not really advanced, but they could control the people. And most of the time, of course, the ego enjoy to have power and control over other people. But they forget the essential and the original point of Buddha's teaching and the Dhamma. So there is that way from the line of the Sangha and some sayadaws. And then there is also the cultural aspect about the same. Some political leaders over time, for the same reason, because their point is to have an obedient population, they want to have people who just follow what they say and do. So they create new rules, and they like to pretend sometimes that this is a very Buddhist way, because they are clever enough to phrase things around and to manipulate people. So they created new rules. So you have more and more rules down from the Sangha, and more and more rules from your culture, from the political side, and everything is the same. It's just to control more and more the people, and then it becomes very complicated with so many things, but the essential is forgotten. And as far as Buddhism, proper Buddhism and Dhamma is concerned, from the Buddha's teaching, the essential is very simple. And these would be his words. If you care about Dhamma, if you want to be a really good person and become a wise person, a real Dhamma person, and maybe reach Nibbana, you should focus on the essential, which is to practice yourself Vipassana properly. And practice meditation and keep the mind focused on the good. And the 4 Brahma Viharas. And so spend a lot of time that way, focus on your own practice. Again, there is the other famous quote which says, make an island of yourself. In that sense, take care of your own business first. Forget that ego that likes to look around and check other people and make judgment and criticize others who don't do like this or like this because the Buddha said like that and like that, even if the Buddha maybe didn't say like that, because only other people made these rules and people don't know. It's so much ignorance. That is avijja. Avisa is exactly that. The people who speak like this so strongly, like they think they repeat the words of the Buddha, even if they are not actually Buddha's words. But it's other people who made those rules only to control other people. So the essential is back to that. And what the Buddha said in that sense, you want to show respect to me, you want to honor me, then for your own sake, actually, practice Dhamma seriously, practice meditation properly every day, and keep a good mind, good intention, no harming, no bad intentions. Forget the ego and try to purify your mind.